Missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they do not prefer to be known as Mormons. So I will be respecting their request to not refer them as Mormons, but they've begun a new outreach strategy to spread their message and to offer up their help for acts of service in the community. So the local church here, it hosts young missionaries from across the world, actually, who you might have seen going around door knocking, offering to perform chores, yard work, other forms of service directly for individuals that they meet throughout their stay here. And a Facebook post by one missionary caught my eye on the Yukon Helpers Network a couple of weeks ago, and I decided to follow up with him. And so this is Elder Connor Cottle, originally from Utah.
As missionaries, we try to just see how we can involve the community, right, in the church, and just help one another to kind of grow in the community, because that's what we're here to do, is to serve. And so when we're thinking about that, there's lots of ways that we can reach out to people on the streets, or we can go to their homes, and technology is becoming bigger and bigger. And so we thought, Facebook might be good. Yeah. And we saw these local groups, and so we thought, maybe if we can offer some church tours, just kind of get people involved in a stress-free kind of environment. And so we thought Yukon Helpers would be a good spot to start.
So the church building in Whitehorse, it's across the river from the downtown waterfront, and it's so close to the bustle of traffic of Front Street and to the library and the Kwanlin Dunn Cultural Center and the shops on May Street. But the closeness is it's made far by the river between them. And before their current building was built in 1980, it's a very interesting building. It's very uniquely designed with intricate wooden paneling in the interior. So it was built in 1980, and this was part of a larger investment and push from the larger church to expand 11 other churches across the northern BC, Yukon, and Alaska. Before this, meetings were held in the old Masonic Hall, and baptisms were actually performed at the Takini Hot Springs, which is a kind of cool fun fact. So to fundraise for the new building, members volunteered delivering Yukon Electric bills, selling their baked goods at bake sales, at various community events. They used to have an annual float at the Canada Day Parade, and they sold tickets for the Sourdough Rendezvous as well. So these are all not just examples like from a more community or collaborative era from the church, but it's also examples of collaborations and relationships that were also cultivated as necessities for the church as well. Once their church was funded and built and then expanded actually in 1990, their need to be so directly in relationship with the outside community definitely was lessened, and they could rely on their own sort of community and resources within the church. So today, branch president Andrew Swenson insists that the sign outside the church that says "Visitors Welcome" remains an important tenet to the congregation.
Our meetings are open to the public. We invite everyone to come and to be part of our meetings and to strengthen us as well, right?
Yeah.
Because having people come adds to our congregation, and in turn, we become a more strengthened community.
So the main form of community outreach today for the church is through the work that the missionaries do. They're set to volunteer with the Yukon Quest this year, but pressed for more specifics about other planned partner-based volunteering in the community. Branch President Swenson admits that.
As far as charities and organizations, at this time there's not. We're certainly open to having those conversations and would really absolutely love to.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone out there, come see me. I'd love to talk.
Local member Amy Hrabian, who grew up in the Whitehorse congregation, says,
I think as a whole, I think we could be more involved. And a lot of that, I think, is just, families moving away and to the local membership. A lot of them are getting older, so they're just not getting out and doing as much. But there's not very many families with kids anymore. I mean, when I grew up, too, like, my mom was the oldest of 7 children, and her entire family lived here. I really wish we were more involved in the community, and sometimes we struggle with finding ways to do that because some people don't have a very good opinion of the church.
Hrabian notes specifically about the church's stance on LGBTQ marriage, in which queer members of the church are expected to stay single. So Hrabian follows up.
And I can't speak for the church as a whole, but obviously there's some aspects of church doctrine that I don't understand, and I don't know if I ever will understand. But I do understand that it makes other people uncomfortable.
The church does indisputably provide important social supports, even to its own community. They have a kind of internal social support system within their membership.
One of the things about the church is, it does have, its own, social services and stuff like that. We don't have a lot of that here in town, but, if I, as a member, if something happened and I was sick and stuff like that, the church would actually help me pay my rent.
So that's Amy Hrabian again. And the 3 missionaries that I met, they're very sincere and committed to this principle of service, and that can include much more than just knocking on doors and trying to convert people, so that they go and meet and talk to people, helping people move, doing yard work and snow shoveling, and they're very open and committed to that. There's over 60,000 missionaries serving in the church right now, including that's young men and women and elder couples. Missionaries are always paired together with 1 or 2 companions, as they're called, and they serve 4 to 6 months in a branch and are transferred around different branches into the larger stake or area by a mission president, one at a time. And then they're oriented and given the ropes of the community by another missionary who's already been serving in the local area. So Joseph Beasley, one of the missionaries, talks about adapting to moving from place to place, and the things you do to adapt.
And we're taught, just mission-wide and worldwide, certain skills that help us do that, ways that we can interact with people that will be most effective. But like you said, it has to be adapted to local needs. Every place is different. And so, obviously, though, it really helps to have someone who's had that experience in that area. They know the lingo, they know how you should, certain political things that we should watch out for, cultural things, and also just the people who are obviously there. And so they usually introduce. We try to avoid whitewashing, where it means taking out all the missionaries out of the area and putting in completely new missionaries, right? Because that kind of interferes with that.
So what's a day in the life look like for a young missionary of the church? So Connor Cottle, the first person who I was chatting with, breaks it down.
We have kind of some different activities that are kind of like staples and things that we do. And then there are other activities that we can do to get more involved or to try something new so that it doesn't get monotonous. Yeah. And we wake up and then we have some time for studying, and then we have set apart time to plan the day. And so during that time that we're planning, we're looking around the area, seeing where we might be able to go to either knock doors, or if there's people we've met previously, we'll see if we can go visit them. Right. And then if we'll have like game nights like we have on Saturday, right, we'll do that and plan things around that into different locations. but we're given a lot of leeway as to when we do things, what we do. So we're able to pray before we start our planning and see where the Lord wants to take us.
So Facebook's not the only use of technology that the church uses. The congregation has also utilized a camera and live stream setup for their Sunday meetings for the benefit of members who live outside of Whitehorse in various communities. And this has been for years before the normalization of digital meetings during COVID. Here's Branch President Swenson talking about that.
We have had in the past members in many of the communities, Watson Lake, Farrow, Carmax, Dawson, Beaver Creek, and they've been blessed to be able to have our meetings broadcast through technology for many years.
Cool.
And we're blessed certainly by them tuning in and even taking part in our meetings from their various locations.
And besides geographical diversity, I'm also informed that the membership is composed of a diverse range of people, including indigenous folks and people, specifically, I think, from the Philippines. So despite being tucked away from the river, from the downtown core, they continue to meet every Sunday, and they have their little sign that says "All visitors welcome." If you're ever interested. That concludes my little report.